Welcome everyone to another episode of Re-Christianitizing. This one, frequently asked questions. Now, as I promised, I was going to end a tough one about what about people that don't hear about Jesus? You know, the native tribe down in South Asia or South America that never heard of anyone, never been seen before, or whatnot. What happens to them? So that's a tough one. I mean, I had to go and ask the church elders and get some input, and I think I have a pretty good answer to give you on that. Um, it kind of stems a little bit from also the explanation of what happens to babies if they die before being able to realize anything. Now, let's go back to start off with the definition of sin. Now, to sin is to knowingly disobey God. Okay, now there's a big part about knowingly. In Psalms chapter 19, verse 13, David is talking about, keep your servants also from willful sins. May they not rule over me, and then I will be blameless, innocent of great transgressions. So the willful sin. As well as Jesus himself in John chapter 9, verses 35 to 41, he's talking to the Pharisees about them being blind. And he says to one man, do you believe in the Son of Man? And the guy asks, who is he, sir? And tell me so that I may believe. And Jesus said, I am he. And then the guy says, okay, I believe. The Pharisees were commented that they still don't believe. And Jesus said in verse 41, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. It's going off the same principle, meaning that if you know that you're sinning, if you know what the sin is, or that you are making a transgression against God, and you choose to do it, then that qualifies as a sin. Okay? Now, going off of that, so people that never hear about God before, they may never get a chance to realize that they're making a transgression against God. Now, more so than that, though, the Bible also tells us that he reveals himself through nature, through the surroundings, and through just life in general. A lot of, like, say, the Native American people, they had the Great Spirit. They saw all the wonders of nature, and they came to that conclusion that there must be some higher power. There's a lot of people that think there's some higher power, they just don't know who it is. And people who really seek out that higher power and want to learn and feel that they have made some transgression or they might not be living life fully, seek God out, and God answers those people. There's a whole story in Acts chapter 10 about a Roman centurion by the name of Cornelius, who, although he was an outcast by society because he was a Roman and a centurion, he sought out God, and God actually took an extra step and had one of the apostles go to him to teach him about Jesus, because he sought out the knowledge of God and sought out, what is true. There's another story, and I don't remember, I can't really verify because I heard from one of the pastors in the church during a sermon, but of a tribe that when missionaries went down there, the tribe said, we've been waiting for you, we were told that you're coming. Which could be another hint of the exact same case, where people realize that there must be some higher power and realize that they might not be living it, or they want to know about the higher power, and God will reveal himself through that. But if they never ever do experience, or never come to that conclusion that there is a higher power, never know that they're doing a transgression, never willfully sin, then they really have no sin, because they never made an act against God that they knew and were disobeying. In essence, then I believe, they're still God's children, so I would assume they would go to heaven in that case, just as babies would, if they died before they became that realization. And so if they're not awake to their sin, if they don't know that they're sinning, they can't make that choice. So in short, that kind of is the answer that I think the Bible is pointing to, is that if they were blind to sin, if they didn't even know that they were sinning and died that way, then I guess they go to heaven because they didn't really make any transgression against God. But those that can understand that there must be some higher power by seeing the wonders around them, the world and how everything works, relationships, and just, life in general, how it came to be, and they start to seek that out, they might come to the conclusion that, hey, there might be something more out there, and start seeking it out, and then God will reveal himself to them. So I guess that's the big question answered. The next one for next week, also a toughie, is going to be on evidence that Jesus actually existed outside of the Bible. So, people sometimes give the argument that, the Bible could be written however they wanted to write it. And, so how do we know if Jesus is real or not? So that's the next one we're going to tackle next week. So stay tuned. Again, this is Trevor Face. God bless, and I hope you enjoyed that little information tidbit pearls of wisdom. Good night.